Hi, kindergarten. Welcome to our social studies for the day. So, today we're going to be talking a little bit about being grateful or gratitude. Now, being grateful means that you're thankful for things or that you are glad for them. It might mean that you appreciate them. That's another big kid word for it. It means that you're glad that you have that thing or that person around. And what I think that is really important for us to think about is that people around us are a lot more important than our things. So you might be really, really thankful for some of the grown-ups or the brothers or sisters that you might have in your life. And of course, we like our toys and our things like our beds, but it's really, really good to think about the things that we love that are people too. So today we're going to be reading this book. This is called A Chair for My Mother, and the author's name is Vera B. Williams. Now, I have to warn you, this book is a little bit of a grown-up book. There's a little bit of a sad part in it too. But you see here, it has a medal because it's a really, really good book because it makes kids' brains think about things differently. Instead of thinking about how you really love your toys and how you want more toys and more toys and more toys, it makes you think about what things are really important for us. Okay? So in this book, I want to warn you, this girl, we're going to find out that her house, it actually caught on fire. And that's kind of scary, right? Now I just want us to remember that we don't really need to worry right now because your house is not going to catch on fire right now, okay? You have things that keep you safe. You have things like your fire detector and all the fire safety things that we had. So I don't want you to be nervous. I just want you to realize that sometimes a little bit of bad things happen, and it's okay to be sad about it. We just need to make sure that we understand that we don't need to be afraid right now, but this is something that we need to think about. Our school really likes us to think about something called social justice and just kind of thinking about other people. And so this is going to be a story where we get to think about someone else and maybe we can have some empathy, just like our CARES kids do. Okay, so let's go ahead and read, and I'll tell you right before we get to this a little bit scary part about the fire, but I promise it has a happy ending. Okay, let's go ahead and read. My title page says the same thing, the title, A Chair for My Mother, by Vera B. Williams. Before we read, I'm wondering, why are they getting a chair? That's interesting. Usually when I get my mom something, I get her some flowers or maybe I get her some chocolates, but I don't usually buy my mom chairs. I wonder why. It's a little bit of a long book, but I think you guys are really going to like it. It says, my mother works as a waitress in the Blue Tile Diner. After school, sometimes I go meet her there. Then her boss, Josephine, gives me a job to do. I wash the salts and peppers and fill the ketchups. One time, I peeled all the onions for the onion soup. When I finish, Josephine says, good work, honey. She pays me. And every time I put half of my money into the jar. I wonder what jar she's talking about. I wonder what they're going to do with that money. Oh, there's the jar. I found it. It takes a long time to fill the jar this big. Every day when my mother comes home from work, I take down the jar. My mama empties all her change from tips out of her purse for me to count. Then we push all the coins into the jar. Sometimes my mama is laughing when she comes home from work. Sometimes she's tired. She falls asleep while I count the money into the piles. Some days she has lots of tips. That's like extra money that waitresses give. Some days she only has a little. Then she looks worried. But each evening, every single shiny coin goes into the jar. So they maybe don't have a lot of money, but the extra money that they do have, all the coins they're putting in this jar. I'm still wondering, why are they saving money? What are they saving it for? My title said A Chair for My Mother, so that might give me a clue. Let's keep reading. We sit in the kitchen and count the tips. Usually Grandma sits with us too. While we count, she likes to hum. Often she has money in her old leather wallet for us. Whether whenever she gets a good bargain on tomatoes or bananas or something she buys, she puts the savings into the jar. Mm. Do you ever have extra coins and maybe you save them? Maybe you have a piggy bank that you put them in? Mm-hmm. Sounds like that's what they're doing. When we can't get a single other coin into the jar, we are going to take out the money and go buy a chair. They're going to buy a chair? It's kind of a silly gift. Usually I like to buy toys for people or flowers or maybe a cake, things like that. But a chair is something that's kind of a boring thing. That's interesting. Yes, a chair. A wonderful, beautiful, fat, soft armchair. We will get one covered in velvet with roses all over it. We are going to get the best chair in the whole world. That is because, here comes the sad part, friends. That is because our old chairs burned up. There was a big fire in our other house. All our chairs burned. So did our sofa, and so did everything else. That wasn't such a long time ago. Did you hear that, friends? It sounds like her old house had a fire, and they lost their chairs. Now they don't have one. That's really sad. We can feel sad with her, and that could show us some empathy. You could say, I'm sorry that you lost your chair. My mother and I were coming home from buying new shoes. I had new sandals, and she had new pumps. Pumps are like high heels. They're fancy mom shoes or grown-up girl shoes. We were walking to our house from the bus. We were looking at everyone's tulips. Those are those flowers down here. She liked the red tulips, and I was saying I liked the yellow ones. Then we came to our block. All right, here's where it gets really sad and a little scary, friends. Okay, let's hold hands. We're going to be okay. We're going to read it. Right outside our house stood two big fire engines. Two firefighters. Firefighter trucks. I could see lots of smoke. Tall orange flames came out of the roof. All the neighbors stood in a bunch across the street. Mama grabbed my hand and we ran. My Uncle Sandy saw us and ran to us. Mama yelled, "Where's Mother?" I yelled, "Where's my grandma?" My Aunt Ida waved and shouted, "She's here, she's here, she's here, don't worry." Grandma was all right. Our cat was safe too, though it took a while for us to find her. But everything else in our whole house was spoiled and burned. Do you hear that, friends? They lost all the stuff inside of their house, and the only things they still had were their grandma and their kitty cat. That's really sad, isn't it? Yeah. I want us to think a little bit about that. When they were worried about their house being on fire, what things were they worried about? They weren't worried about their toys, were they? No. And they weren't worried about their chair or their bed. They were worried about the people in their life that they love, right? Because when we feel grateful for things and the things that we love the most are the people. We can get new toys or new chairs, but we can't get new people. So the people are the ones that are really important. And those are the people that they're grateful for. What was left of the house was turned to charcoal and ashes. You've probably seen charcoal maybe when you had like a fire when you roast marshmallows, or maybe in the grill you might have seen that. It's like really black, and if it gets on your fingers it's really dirty, right? And that was all over everything. Look at even their chair. We went to stay with my mother's sister, Aunt Ida, and Uncle Sandy. Then we were able to move to the apartment downstairs. We painted the walls yellow. The floors were all shiny, but the rooms were very empty. Yeah, if I had to move after I just had a fire, I'd have a lot of empty stuff in my house too, because all my stuff had burned down, right? Or even when you move in general, a lot of your stuff is in boxes, and maybe sometimes you have to leave things behind. I know some of our friends had to maybe move recently, and they had to maybe leave some things, right? That's kind of hard. Let's see what happens. Ooh. The first day we moved in, the neighbors brought pizza and cake and ice cream. Their neighbors are taking care of them and being kind and loving. I bet in our kindergarten classes we can do the same thing, right? Whenever someone's feeling sad or has something that's wrong in their life, we can try to help them by loving them, right? They brought a lot of other things too. The family across the street brought a table and 3 kitchen chairs. The very old man next door gave us a bed from when his children were little. My other grandpa brought us a beautiful rug. My mother's other sister, Sally, had made us red and white curtains. Mama's boss, Josephine, brought pots and pans, silverware and dishes. My cousin brought me her own stuffed bear. Everyone clapped when my grandma made a speech. You all are all the most kind people, she said, and we thank you very, very much. It's lucky we're young and can start all over. Wow. I love what I'm seeing on this page. This page is what makes me feel really happy because on this page, even though they're feeling a little sad, everyone around them helps them and helps them get back on their feet. They give them the things that they need, and they give them the food that they need, and they work together, cooperation, to make it a little bit better for the friends that lost all their stuff, right? And I'm so, so, so glad that they still have the people that they love and the animals they love, right? Because those are the things we can't replace as easy or at all. That was last year. That was a while ago. Now we're back to talking about now for her. But we still have no sofa and no big chairs. When Mama comes home, her feet hurt. There is no good place for me to take a load off my feet, she says. When Grandma wants to sit back and hum and cut potatoes, she has to get comfortable as she can on those hard kitchen chairs. So that is how come Mama brought home the biggest jar she could find at the diner, and all the coins started to go into the jar. Now, the jar is too heavy for me to lift down. Uncle Sandy gave me a quarter. He had to boost me up to put it in it. Oh my gosh. So friends, look at the beginning of our book. At the beginning of our book, we saw the jar, and there wasn't very much, right? It was empty. There's only a little bit in there. There's less. Now, look how much more there is. Oh, it's full. Do you remember what happens when the jar is full? What happens? They're going to buy a chair. Oh boy, that's going to be exciting for them, right? Because they missed all their things and they still got to keep the things that they were most grateful for and thankful for, the people. But now they get to replace some of the things that they get to have. After supper, Mama and Grandma and I stood at the front of the jar. Well, I never would have believed it, but I guess it's full, Mama said. My mother brought home a little paper wrappers for the nickels and dimes and quarters. I counted them all out and wrapped them all up. On my mother's day off, we took all the coins to the bank. The bank exchanged them for $10 bills. Then we took the bus downtown to shop for our chair. What I think is really interesting here is they aren't going to go buy toys or things that maybe it would be a little bit more fun. Instead, they're going to be buying a chair to help her mom and her grandma, right? That's really, really kind, isn't it? It's maybe a little bit selfless because instead of wanting things just for herself and wanting Legos and dolls and all sorts of toys, she's trying to get something that would help their whole family and help them feel loved. That's really nice. We shopped through 4 furniture stores. We tried out big chairs and smaller ones, high chairs and low chairs, soft chairs and harder ones. Grandma said she felt like Goldilocks and the 3 bears, trying out all of the chairs. I wonder what chair she's going to pick. Finally, we found the chair we were all dreaming of, and the money in the jar was enough to pay for it. We called Aunt Ida and Uncle Sandy. They came right down with their pickup truck to drive the chair home for us. They knew we couldn't wait for it to be delivered. Oh, they found the perfect chair. I bet they're so happy because they lost so many things and they got to keep the things that were most important, but now they get to get a little bit of things back that they wanted and loved, right? I tried out our chair in the back of the truck. Mama wouldn't let me sit there while we drove, but they let me sit there while they carried it up to the door. That sounds fun. We sat in the chair right beside the window with the red and white curtains. Grandma and Mama and I sat in it for a while Aunt Ida took our picture. Now Grandma sits on it and talks with people going by in the daytime. Mama sits down and watches the news on TV when she comes home from her job. After supper, I sit with her and she can reach right up and turn out the light when I fall asleep in her lap. And there they are. Look at them, so happy in their chair. Wow. So what I want us to think about after reading this book is, what things are we thankful for? What are we grateful for? And yes, of course, we love the toys and the fun things that we have, but think about the things and people that you love and you're thankful for. And think about, wow, what would it be like if you had to lose everything from a fire? And maybe you can be a little more grateful that you do have the things that you do have. Maybe you do have a bed and a chair to sit on and a table to eat your dinner at. And maybe you have lots of family that can love you. Those are all things that we can be grateful for. So I'd love to learn more about what things or people you are grateful for. Thanks for reading this big kid book with me. You guys did a great job. Hopefully we're not too scared. Remember that we are safe and your house is safe, right? You have things to keep you safe. You have firefighters and you have fire detectors and you probably have some fire extinguishers and you have grown-ups in your house to keep you safe. So don't be too worried about that. Let's just think about things that we love and we're grateful for. Okay? Bye, everyone.